So, the American Society of Magical Negroes. This came out earlier this year. I didn't get the chance to review it. I was going to, didn't get the chance to. It's directed by Kobe Libby. I saw the trailer and I thought it was an interesting premise for a movie. You have a whole movie that's satirical takedown of the trope of the magical Negro. The movie even starts explaining what the trope is. Basically, it's a black supporting character that comes in to impart wisdom and sometimes magic to help the white main character, help them get their life together, help them improve their relationship with their wife or their family. Basically, they're not doing too good, and they come in basically almost like act of God to help them out and help them get their shit together. So this movie is a takedown of that satirical comedy, addressing that trope. And yeah, I didn't hear good things about this from when it came out, but I'll say how I feel about it in a second. So Aaron, played by Justice Smith, he's our main character in this, and he is at an art show. He's selling his sculpture, which is just basically a bunch of yarn that he can't even really explain the meaning behind it. So it's not selling well at all. You get to see him in a room of white people, and you get to see him. I mean, it's painful to watch him walk through the room, and he's apologizing constantly. He doesn't want to bump into any of them or make them feel away and things like that. It really is hard to watch. So the bartender happens to be Roger, played by David Allen Greer. And Roger ends up saving Aaron when he almost gets jumped by some, well, not jump, but well, it's two dudes, so I guess it would be jumping by some white guys, based on a misunderstanding with this drunk white lady. And so he uses magic to help him and things like that. And he explains to him that he's part of the American Society of Magical Negroes. Brings him to their headquarters and everything. He basically he thinks that he could be good in that job because of how much he like painstakingly wants to make white people feel comfortable, and that's basically what the American Society of Magical Negroes is all about: protecting black people, black lives, by making sure that every white person doesn't feel extreme discomfort, because it can be dangerous for black people if they do. Pretty much throughout time, they've been doing this. The magical powers themselves, I don't know if that's ever explained in this, but they have magical powers pop up at certain places and things like that. They have magical powers to help them out in what they're doing. So Aaron does become part of the society, and he is going to work for this job, this tech company or whatever, this social media company, and he's meant to help this guy Jason, played by Drew Tarver. He's meant to help him with his life. He was part of a team that did something. That's part of this movie too, and it failed, and he's at a really low point, and he has ambitions to be more. Aaron ends up meeting Lizzie, played by Ann Lee Bogan, and they end up, hitting it off after a really awkward meeting. And it turns out that Jason actually wants to be with her at one point. And because Aaron is part of the society and he's meant to help him, he can't get in the way of that, right? So if he does something selfish, something about him, or puts himself before his client, which would be Jason, the magic goes away, and it could negatively affect the society and put black people at risk. So that's the main thing here, is this romance where he really likes this girl, but it's complicated because he can't be with her, because if he does, it will jeopardize things for the society. All right, so I did not think this was good overall. I think it ends up being more in the mediocre realm and not reaching its potential, but the potential was there. I do like certain things that they did with the magical Negro trope, specifically with the society when Aaron goes there and they're talking about things, explaining things. Hey, you can't put yourself before the client, things like that. And they even have these demonstrations play out.
Now you got to just close your eyes and get your stroke back. Not bad, Miss Avery. Not bad.
That was effective because it plays out like it does when it comes to that trope when I've seen it in things. Like there's even a reference It seemed like a pretty obvious reference to the Green Mile. I don't think there's enough of it, but the deconstruction of that trope is actually pretty good. And then with the overall societal message, I thought that worked at times. David Alan Grier, Roger, I think he gives easily the best performance. For the most part, the performances are good. Even Justice Smith wasn't good in the beginning, but even he gets better as the movie gets on. But David Alan Grier was so good. There's even a point where he's telling a story about his dad. His dad got spit on by a white guy, and he's like, oh, he's waiting for his dad to just unleash on this guy. And his dad just smiles up at him. And he doesn't understand it. His grandmother has to explain to him, basically like, hey, your dad did what he needed to do to come home, to come home alive to you today. I actually liked the romance between Lizzie and Aaron. I actually thought they had pretty good chemistry, and I think having their societal problems, having that be a way that they really bond, I thought that was really good. I felt bad for him, the whole idea that he has to just let go of this girl that he's really into, and let her be with this fucking jackass just because that's pretty much his job. There's also the aspect of if he puts himself ahead of his client or above his clients, his needs above his client's needs, that the society will ban him and he'll lose his memory. So even if he does decide, you know what, I'm going to take the leap and screw this guy and be with this girl, they're going to wipe his memories and he's not going to remember anyway. And there's those scenes of him being just really depressed about it and really down about it that I actually felt bad for the guy. I did not expect to actually like the romance in this, especially from the way it begins. It's all awkward and he's really annoying.
Oh my God, I was looking for coffee. I was looking to make sure that I didn't spill coffee on you.
Yeah,
and
no,
I realized
I
I
wouldn't.
totally looked like I was checking you out. I was not checking you out. I wouldn't do that. I'm not.
Okay.
I was not doing that. I promise.
Okay.
That being said, even though I liked a good amount of this movie, I almost went like, oh, okay, well, I heard bad things about this movie, but it's all right. It's okay. It's enjoyable enough. It just doesn't reach its potential. No, there's definitely issues here. Even early on when I was enjoying it, the character Aaron, Justice Smith, is like, come on. It's like you have no backbone whatsoever. And the way that he's just so... he has no backbone when it comes to dealing with, it seems like anybody, but specifically white people. It's because it's just nothing but white people around early on. But there's a big disconnect also, with him being so extreme, because this movie has a lack of subtlety, which is an issue. But he's also, and he says it in the movie, he's like, I'm mixed, I have a white mom. And I was like, well, doesn't that kind of kill this movie, right? Because why is he acting like this? He has a white mom. He has white family members. Am I supposed to believe that if he's in a room full of his white cousins, he's going to be like, oh, excuse me, not wanting to make them uncomfortable? It's weird. There's a disconnect there. They definitely shouldn't have had the character be mixed, because it really causes you not to believe the character and why he's being like that. And it doesn't help that he's not really developed at all. It just starts with him at the art show with the yarn. So when he's really getting into certain things about himself, I mean, really heavy-handed stuff. Like, up until a week ago, I didn't know I deserved to live. It's like, really? Where did that come from? Where did you get that from? Even though I like the romance takes so much away from it. I mean, it's to the point where, you expect there to be more of a resolution when it comes to the magical society. Like, he's going to, like, take it down from the inside or reform it because of the way that he feels about Lizzie and everything. But no, there's not really much of a ending to it. It's just like, oh, well, yeah, the magic's an issue. And that was also something where it's like, oh, well, the magic, they'll lose their magic. But it's like, well, they're not going to lose their magic, because anybody that puts themselves in front of the client, they could just ban them and wipe their memory. Eventually the magic will be okay. Like, it seemed like it was. So the love triangle is horrible because this guy, Jason, is fucking so bad. He's such a terrible person. He's such a prick. And it's like, there's no way that this girl would ever be into this guy. No way in hell, right? And of course, at some point, Aaron's gonna have to step up to this guy. I mean, because he is just, there's no subtlety. That's the issue. The things that this man says is like, it's completely insensitive. It's crazy, to the point where, like, this is a caricature, not a character.
Would it have helped to have people of color on the team? Maybe, yeah, but you know, it was a really competitive project and no people like you made it, so I don't know what they want me to do.
There's this whole thing too with the character where, um, there's these really fake looking news segments where they talk about this social media company or this tech company, uh, and they came out with some phone or something, and the face recognition software doesn't work for black people. And so there's the idea of like, oh, there should have been more people of color on the team. It's like, what the hell is this? Like, how do you make a mistake like that unless it's deliberate? Like, right? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. You could have nothing but white people on that team. And I still feel like they would be like, well, let's make sure this facial recognition works for everyone. It's just such a forced and lame ass part of this movie. I was willing to still say this movie was all right. And I might end up spoiling some stuff here. Well, actually, this is a spoiler. We're just going to talk about the ending of the movie. So the thing that really kills this movie, so it ends in this presentation. Jason gets to give the presentation even though Lizzie did all the work, which is, and he's being a real asshole about it. Being like, oh, well, the stuff this guy says, man. I can't give her the opportunity because it wouldn't be fair to her because she didn't earn it. And so I'm setting her up to fail and nonsense like that. Eventually, he finally does say something that like makes Aaron snap, where he's like, oh, well, you're only here because, this is about diversity. It's like, oh my God. So he goes on stage and they're live and everything. They don't turn off the live or anything. They just let him go. And he just goes on a whole spiel just going off. I didn't think I deserved to live until a week ago. And I'm finally able to speak my mind, which is something I've never done. And this is so crazy for me to finally be standing up for myself. And it's so heavy handed. I don't get it. It's like this with this and Barbie and some other movies with social messages, right? It's like, there's nothing clever about having a character just go into a fucking really long-winded, heavy-handed speech. There's nothing clever about that, right? It's just you let the character just go on a soapbox, and it's cringy as fuck because while it's happening, I'm imagining the person who wrote it just grinning to themselves, just thinking, I'm really killing it right now. It's like, no, you're killing your movie because the movie nosedives hard from that situation. It's like. And then Jason has like this forced change of heart as a result of it too. It's almost like you expect racism to be quelled as a result of that that live with that speech that he gave, that rant that he gave. It's just so shitty. And like I said, there's not much of a resolution with the American society. It's just like Roger doesn't wipe his memory. He's like, oh well, we'll always be around to protect people even without magic. It's like, all right. I mean, he did have this thing where other people in the society started standing up for themselves against their client, which is like, oh, that's cool. It's like, okay, is he taking down the society as a result? No, he's not. And then they have that extra middle finger at the end where he transports Lizzie with magic, and so it's weird that she's not completely taken aback by it when he like leaves her on the the Empire State Building. They live in L.A. and he leaves her on the Empire State Building in New York. So, so there's that situation. She has like a little joke. She's like, actually, I'm part of a secret society too. So it turns out her So Swag, the thing that she had, it's for the some society for wives and girlfriends. It's like, wait a minute. So there's no indication of that actually being a thing throughout the movie. And she's not a wife or a girlfriend. That's why this romance is even happening, right? Is she supposed to be? Was she also trying to be in a relationship with Jason, but he was just too much of an asshole? Because she didn't seem like she liked him at all, other than certain times where she would laugh at some of the things he would say somehow, because the dude has no charisma at all. It's just, it was so weird. It's like you just decided to throw that in there, even though it doesn't make sense or at least deserves some kind of explanation. It doesn't matter. The movie's over. The ending is just so bad. So it ends up being a rental. It ends up being mediocre. I was almost there to being like, you know what? I heard bad things, but you know what? This movie's okay. I can't do that, man. After the ending, I was like, man, I can't defend this movie. I can't. It was too much, and it was very obvious that you clearly didn't know how to end this movie. You did not know, because the way that the society itself is just not really resolved all that much by the end. It's just not good. It's not good. But anyway, that is the American Society of Magical Negroes. Rental, subscribe, and we're done.